All right, everyone. I guess this is vlog number 7. Pardon the camera quality. It is what it is. All right, I'll share my screen. Eh, just a little too bright. Okay. Today, we are talking about the simultaneous Venus and Mars Cazimi. So let's just make a short introduction about what the Cazimi is, and then I'll tell you what's happened. And you can see that the Sun is currently conjunct Venus and Mars. Exact, yeah. And that is what Cazimi is. It's when planets pass through the heart of the Sun. And as they do that, they transition from one state of being to another state of being. And so everyone is undergoing this transition on the subjects of Venus and Mars. And another part you should think about is that Venus, before this, was a morning star. So you would see her in the morning. She would rise before the sun. So if you're up early, before the sun's totally up, then you would see her. Now, Venus is turning into an evening star. So Venus is going to be visible in the evening time. So you can see that's a pretty big transition from morning to evening. And what that signals is that something is being incinerated, right? When it gets very close to the sun, it's reduced to an ash, and then it's reborn on the other side and starts to take on a different nature. So these are moments when important events take place that transition us from one state of being to another. And in fact, if you think about what's just happened in Venezuela, I don't know when you're going to be watching this, but President Maduro has just been captured, and the United States has claimed that they are now running that country. So you can see the Venus and Mars transition there. Because Venezuela used to be run by Maduro, now it's run by the United States, whatever that means. All right, so just to give an example of a global event. Moreover, the United States is taking on the position that they would now like to target Cuba and Colombia and Greenland. Right, so suddenly in this very short time frame, there's a completely different attitude. The United States has its national interests, which is Venus, the things that they would like. And it has the military, which is Mars, which is the asset that they utilize in order to get what they would like. And by the way, at least in the case of Venezuela, we know that it's about oil. I'm sure it's about many other things. I'm not that informed, so I'm just staying on the surface. Oil, of course, is a natural resource, and therefore Capricorn. Because Capricorn is something ancient, right? Like oil that's been stuck underground. Plus, you have to drill it to get it out. Moreover, if you think about Greenland, like go no further than green Capricorn, land Capricorn. So sometimes it really is that direct, that literal, but not always. Most of the time it's rather subtle. That's something else politically speaking. Oh yeah. So also in this transition period, you can see obviously if the United States is threatening Greenland, which is currently owned, I don't know the right word, by Denmark, that puts NATO, which is that global alliance, at risk. So there's a lot of transitions happening there. Never mind. Let's get to my stories. All right. Um, what happened today is my relationship with my partner reached a critical point. Actually, we've been I have kind of the same issue since the beginning of our relationship more than 2 years ago, which has been about sex. And well, if you're in a relationship, maybe you know that there are critical subjects, things that you kind of don't get along on, and things that you have to work through, kind of. And of course, intimacy is just a big part of that. Like, that's life. We have trauma, we have issues. Being in a relationship is hard. Um, Today we talked about breaking up, and it was like for real, for real. And actually, inside of myself, I felt like, yeah, this is probably it. Like, this is probably the moment that we finally separate. Even though on all other counts, our relationship had improved dramatically, it just felt like so much tension had been built up, at least for me, that I felt like the next step to take is to just call it quits. And well, that didn't happen. But let's talk about that first part. Because you can see that Venus is exactly at the heart of the sun, so is Mars, right? Because they're all at the same degree. So imagine that you're at the heart of the sun, you're under the spotlight, so something is being revealed. You could also think of it like a new moon, right? Because the new moon is when the moon is exactly conjunct the sun, but that happens once a month. Whereas the new Venus and new Mars, which are the Cazimi events, happen much more infrequently, I guess once every year and a half or 2 years. And they rarely happen simultaneously. I don't know when it would have happened simultaneously last. I guess a long, long time ago. Maybe not. Doesn't really matter. And so the fact that Venus is Cazimi together with Mars is what causes the agitation and the potential for separation. Yeah, because that's the energy of Mars. When you end something, when you cut. And what happened instead, which is also the energy of Mars, is we took a pivot. And I made him the promise that as long as we're working on our relationship, he is safe and I will never have sex with another man. And I hadn't made that promise before. And maybe it's worthwhile mentioning that this is also my Saturn return year, and my Saturn opposes my North Node in Libra. So clearly I have Saturn in Aries. Yeah, so for me, oftentimes that's just about the fact that I don't get to do what I want and be totally free and move however I like to move. Um, I'm really working on consideration and partnership. And it frequently it actually feels like I'm stuck. By the way, my Saturn in Aries is conjunct the South Node in Aries. And I feel like that's a repeating theme in my life that selfishness and doing what I like to do and being totally free to move as I like to move is something that's not really afforded to me. And Alex's presence is just the emblem, the greatest representation of that. That now I'm working on togetherness, making decisions together, figuring things out together, and not being on my own. It's kind of funny actually because the other day I was watching a video of Andrew Tate. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's kind of a very macho guy. Um, and he was talking about how in this life, whatever he wants, he gets it. And he's gotten everything that he's wanted in life because that's what it means to be a man. And as I was watching that, and I was thinking to myself that couldn't be me because my North Node is in Libra. So I thought his North Node must be in Aries or he must have like a strong Aries signature because I had been reflecting on my inability to do what he's talking about just as a central feature of my fate in this lifetime. So I looked up his chart and sure enough, his North Node is in Aries. And there's those insights that sometimes come in that are very confirming, like validating. Because I know for some people that is, they are here to do whatever they want, and that's just their part of the natural balance of the universe. Never mind. So there you can see how Venus and Mars were under the sun. because our relationship basically made two important key decisions today. One of them was, okay, we're about to break up because we've reached a complete end of what the relationship has been up till now. And now I make the promise. Hold on. Let's just make sure I'm not going to get kicked out of this call because it's happened before. Now I've made the promise. And so we're going to stay together. And for sure, I'm going to honor my promise. I'm definitely a person that keeps my word. At least now I am becoming such a person, and I know that I can easily do it. And I know that I can also easily separate from him if I feel like it's just not working, and I need the freedom, and I want to separate, and I want to figure out my sexuality on my own, then I will. But I also feel like, we can probably figure it out together. Like sex is not going to solve my life's problems. It just creates a lot of tension in this relationship. And that's normal. I mean, um, and so there's the Cazimi because you can see Venus has crossed once again from being a morning star to being an evening star. So it's a big transition. So on the mundane level in my life, that is about our relationship kind of starting over. And it does feel like we just kind of started over as soon as we had that conversation, because it was really like today the energy was so scattered and so nervous. But after we had that conversation, I felt how the tension just cut to zero. And well, we'll see where that takes us. I'm open to find out. And I think that's the most telling because at the end of the day, that these transits, they represent many events actually, but sometimes some events are so obvious because they're so important that they kind of take over everything else. But as you know, life is in the little details because there's so many things happening. So I'm going to share a couple other small details um that might be interesting. Okay, another one comes up straight away. So you guys may have seen that today I've posted another birth chart reading project video. And that's the last video that I'm doing for free. I just started to put a price on the YouTube project readings. And that is also the transition of Venus. It's starting to value my work. I change my prices, I increase them. There's the Venus Cazimi, right? I start to value my work more. So I charge a higher price now. There was also the situation where Alex had asked me, so the heating bill is going to come soon. Am I going to share it half and half with him? Because I hadn't in the years prior. I was like, of course I'm going to. And he said, okay, well, the heating bill may not come for another couple months. He's not really sure because the heating provider has changed, da da da, whatever. And I told him, well, look, I want to pay you in advance because I want to be sure I have enough money when the bill's going to be here. So let me just pay you some of it now. And so I gave him 100 euros ahead of time. And so there's Venus Cazimi, yeah, especially in Capricorn. Capricorn being something that is logically structured, and in this case also being like preparation. So in this case, paying the money in advance, so that I really know that I'm ahead of schedule and everything is just clear and just right. Um, yeah. So I wonder if listening to those few examples, you guys kind of see how the Venus Cazimi is interacting on several levels. And I'm sure if I sat here and thought about it, I could come up with other stuff. Maybe I guess I'm not going to, just to keep the video not too long. And yeah, just I don't know. Again, when you're watching this video, it might be too late for you. Like it might be way too far away from the Venus Cazimi, but if you're watching it now, just think about it. Like what has changed for you in the past few days? Like what do you notice? Like even look, I just got my hair cut. If you notice the previous videos, my hair is long. Right? Venus is also about aesthetic. So I've cut my hair. Okay. Um, I'll just leave it at that for today. So, um, nice to share with you as always. I'll be happy to hear your feedback or insights in the comments. And I really hope that as you watch these videos, you don't just watch them, but they also make you think or like open the transit chart and start to work a little bit with your transits to figure out the architecture of your reality. Because that's why we engage with astrology after all, to have a profound transformation of the mind and to understand our existence. So, I'm going to start recording now, and I will see you in the next vlog.